pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. White?
Here.
Mr. Morrow? Here. Mr. Denise?
Here.
Ms. Drumheller?
Here.
Mr. Renzi?
Here.
Ms. Webster?
Here.
Mr. Agadello?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any announcements or agenda modifications? No? Seeing none, we'll move on. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes from July 25th?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Who was
Mr.
that?
Renzi?
Who was that? Second?
Mr. Renzi?
Things off.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Cool. Public input. We have no public. Our public is not here tonight. Anybody on Zoom?
No one has raised their hand.
Thank you. Okay, we'll come out of public input. We're on to unfinished business. Mr. Benton, if we could have a current project update?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple quick updates in regards to projects that we have ongoing. The ADA parking space and sidewalk, the current plan is to have that installed next Thursday at Blossom Park. And then after that, they'll proceed over to George Street in the coming weeks after that. So that'll be part of the park improvements that was dedicated from this committee for staff to spend for those improvements with that. And also with that at Blossom, we'll be increasing the gate size to enter that playground. I think now it's currently 3 feet. It'll go up to 5 feet to match the sidewalks on that one. Also budgeted this year at the past meeting, I'd spoken about Easy Street and Filbert Street Park playgrounds for replacement. I met on site with one of our vendors for playgrounds. I'll be working to get 2 additional submittals from playground companies, and my plan is to bring that for you all at the September meeting for you all to review the designs and the cost estimates for those 2 playgrounds. Going forward with that. You'll see some activity. I know in next year's budget we've got the swing and bench park across the street from Harbor Lights Motel down in the riverfront. That's going to be out of leisure services budget going into next fiscal year. However, just to keep you all informed, across the street, the Harbor Lights Motel will be demolished starting next week. So I believe they're going to plan to start that demolition next Wednesday. So you'll see some activity on that site. That'll clear that property, and then we'll obviously have the east side of the road will be where our bench and swing park is going to be located next year. And I'll bring that design, we'll draw that schematic up, and after October, we'll bring that design to the committee and get your input on how our plan to lay out the swings and the benches, and also some memorial brick pavers that we'll install on that site as well.
Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Brian. How many swings are we looking at, maybe?
I believe the plan is, we've still got to finalize the drawings, but currently I think it was 3 swings and 5 or 6 benches, just depending on how the layout worked out with the swings. And these would be kind of similar to porch swings. It may not be wooden, but that's the thought process. It won't be playground swings. It'll be more of a casual porch swing to sit on and look out over the lagoon.
You might check Tybee Island, because they have some on the ocean that are really spectacular.
Thank you. I'll look into that. I know also at the last meeting, Mr. Denise had brought up a concern in regards to an animal sign. No animals allowed on one of the docks down at the riverfront area. I got clarification from him, and we got that sign installed shortly that week, during that week right after. But other than that, staff's still working. We just hired 1 new maintenance worker, started today. We're still a little short-staffed, but I think the staff we have is doing a phenomenal job staying up on the parks and trying to keep up with everything there. So that's where we currently stand within our projects, and we'll see some movement on some new things coming up here in the near future. So if anyone has questions about projects or any of that such currently. Yes, sir.
As I go in and out of Indian River County, those wonderful signs that you put up, you know, welcome to Indian River County, the cement facades.
So the county would have installed those.
Oh, I thought we did.
No, so the city, we have our welcome to Sebastian sign currently installed on 512, County Road 512, right in front of the Publix Plaza, heading eastbound. US 1, north and south, US 1 signs, we just, at a council meeting last Wednesday, the community aesthetic feature agreement with Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, was just approved. So now the installation company has the approval from the city, which we already had given them, but FDOT requires that we enter into an agreement with FDOT to install the signs on the medians. So that was done, complete. So we should have those signs installed in the coming 4 to 6 weeks would be my best guess.
Okay.
But the signs you're referring to were installed by Indian River County at various spots coming into the county from major thoroughfares, 95 coming in on 512.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, another one, sorry. The motel that's getting torn down, what is the council, or has there been any talk about, are they thinking of selling it for taxes, I'm thinking, or would it be a green space eventually that the city would keep?
I know there currently has not been any discussions as to the direction from council. Once we get the facility torn down, I suspect that that'll be discussed amongst the council at future meetings.
Anybody else have anything? No? All right, so we'll move on to committee member park updates. And how are we working this, Brian?
Madam Chair, so this was, at the last meeting, it was a little bit of a concern from some of the committee members that, you know, we've assigned each member specific parks to go out and give a fresh set of eyes that, you know, staff doesn't, that'll be separate from staff going out and visiting those parks. And we eliminated at the end of the meetings the chance for community members to provide feedback and input on their parks. So when we had that discussion, it was determined from myself that we should institute under unfinished business, kind of a rolling unfinished business, to provide you all an opportunity to give updates, positive, negative, criticisms of what's going on within the parks that you were allocated and things that you would like to see come back before this board.
Okay, thank you.
So it can just go individually by each member.
Okay. Why don't we start now with Mr. Morrow? Do you have anything on your parks? You weren't prepared. None of us were prepared. Now we know moving forward. Mr. Denise?
No, I have nothing specific. As Brian knows, when I see things, I contact him right away. But and as I said at the last minute, I think his department is doing a fantastic job. When I go through there, it's fantastic.
Thank you. Mr. Renzi?
Whatever happened with those gentlemen that wanted to launch the Titanic over there in Riverview Park?
I gave them the information from our recommendation from the city standpoint that we were not going to move forward with it, allowing that access there, and I've heard nothing else from them.
Okay.
Ms. Drumheller?
Nothing till we talk about the disc.
Okay. Louis? Good to see you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. As far as the parks that I've been around and that I've seen lately, Hardy Park looks great. Barber Street looks great. The dugouts are an amazing addition. I think that was done in a really good fashion. That was a great addition to the parks that they needed. And besides that, I don't really have anything else, but it looks great.
Okay, I don't really have anything about, oh, Ms. White,
Nothing at this time, thank you.
thank you. For me, I did want to mention the community back to school event that was held at the Barber Street. It was fantastic. It was really, there's a lot of kids, and I brought my granddaughter, and it was just really good. I wanted to say that. I don't know how.
Yeah, I have
much
to
you
say,
were involved in it.
the police department handled that. You know, we offered any assistance we could give them, but they handled that strictly through their community, police group, the COPE unit. And the police department does a fantastic job with those events, and I know they'll continue to work with us coming up. I know at Halloween, when we have our Halloween costume contest and our arts and crafts area, they'll also be having a movie night shortly after that. So we work together with them well, but they do a fantastic job of those community events that they put on. So that's strictly, all those positives go directly to the police department.
Well, if they're listening, they did a great job. It was wonderful. Okay, Community Member Recognition Program.
So this program, we've kind of been working through the process and trying to get to this point. Included in your packet, you have the final nomination form. That's based on feedback from, I think it was the April meeting that we kind of finalized everything. So I wanted to include that here. The deadline that I put in for applications is going to be October 14th. The reason for that is it then gives us 2 weeks to look at choosing someone to bring back before this committee at the end of October. Originally, I think we had set a timeline of November 1st, and it comes to this committee the end of November. However, I think that gets you kind of a tight timeline before the Christmas parade. And that was kind of the point that we were going to go forward with that. So I think what we could do is have the selection ready, have it kind of come to you all as a recommendation the end of October at that meeting. Then in November, we could bring the individual in, recognize them here at this meeting, formally announce it at this meeting, and then they would be able to be showcased in the Christmas parade. With that, I know we've thrown out a couple options of things. I think, you know, probably our best option is to allocate a golf cart from the city to be able to showcase the individual at the parade, unless one of you has a car that, or we have contacts to get a convertible car or something of that nature that we could do. But those are my thoughts, and that's kind of the process that I think we should follow. I just think if we wait until getting the applications back in November 1st, we're going to be on a really tight timeline. We'll have to decide the winner, contact the winner through Thanksgiving holiday, and then getting them ready for the Christmas parade. It's going to be a tight timeline.
Do we have a committee? I can't remember. Do we have a committee already formed for judging?
We do not. The committee was going, I know we had discussed it. The committee is going to involve myself. I'll have another member of my staff involved. We will, whoever this committee wants to have represent the committee on that selection group. It can only be one person because of sunshine laws, so we can only have one Parks and Rec advisory member on that committee. And then I was going to reach out to one of our community organizations to get someone. I think I feel comfortable that I can easily get someone who represents the Shrimp Fest or something, Brew Fest. One of those groups would gladly be involved. So then that would give us 4 people on the selection committee for this first year. And obviously we can kind of tweak it going forward, but I really want to get this going and get it in motion this year if we can.
Can I just say that maybe somebody from the Shrimp Fest may be nominated?
That is true. That can happen.
That's okay.
So you know, we've got to hammer someone down from one of those committees or one of those groups. I could also, you know, I would like to get someone from our youth organizations, whether it's one from football, one from baseball. I'll reach out to them as well. I'll try to get as many as I can on that selection committee, but it's also could come down to someone that's on that committee could also have been, if they are chosen as as a person, for the award, then we probably won't be, they won't be allowed on the committee, and I'll have to get someone else.
Okay. So that's what you would do in the event that
Correct.
happened? Okay.
And how are we getting the word out with this timeline? How are we going to do that?
Yeah, so my plan is, once this is approved here with you all, you know, we'll make city council aware of it, but we'll go ahead and push it out to the community organizations, the city's Facebook page, the city's website, Little League and tackle football organizations, any other groups that you all know of. I mean, those are typically the ones that I know of. The senior center, they have, you know, an art club. We'll get all of those people involved with it as well.
Maybe the high school.
And yes, correct, we can get it out to the high school and the schools as well.
So will this, this application that we see, is that going to be online available for download? And will they be able to fill it out and upload?
Correct, so we'll put it in a fillable format.
Okay.
So if they want to fill it out online, they can fill it out online and submit it that way. If they want to print it off and handwrite it or type it and bring it in, that's fine too. So they'll have both options to submit it.
The only thing I can see on here that you may want to add is the address, because not everybody knows the address for the city, to mail it in.
Oh, yes,
If you're
correct,
gonna mail
yes.
it. Probably mailing isn't that great an idea.
My other question, I think the form is easy to read, easy to fill out. It looks really good to me. The only thing I'm wondering if people, when they look at this, it says 2022 Parks and Recreation Volunteer of the Year nomination form. And I know later in there it says for community, but I'm hoping that people don't think it's only people that volunteer for recreation and parks activities. So, and I do see down there, it does say number 3, actively involved in community organizations. So, I don't know, do we need to change something on that title, like I don't know. I'm just looking at it, and I don't want people to pick this up and go, oh, well, I'm not involved in parks or recreation, so I'm not going to read this or fill it out.
Maybe it'll make them get involved.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I think that, you know, the police department at one time had something similar to this for theirs. So I think we should stay within the framework of who we are, and that is the Parks and Rec. So I look at this and I think it looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Madam Chair, if I may. In regards to Ms. White's comments, I think we can do we can get it out whenever we communicate it out to the public, whether it's via social media, emails to some of these groups and their participants. We can make sure that we let them know that community events, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a city-run event. It just has to be kind of city-sponsored and take place within the city and benefit the city, and not necessarily it benefit the city's residents per se, because some of the nonprofit groups that hold events don't necessarily give money back to the city, but it benefits the residents of the city by giving it to charitable organizations. So I think we can phrase it that way in the initial email kickoff with social media and everything.
Yeah, I think the description is in the first paragraph, says it pretty much all. Leader within the community. So do you need a vote on this, or what shall we do?
I mean, I think we've already voted on the nomination form and approved that.
Oh, good.
What I would ask is if the committee, you can either decide tonight or obviously come back in September and we can kind of designate who from this committee will be the representative on the selection committee.
So if I might say, Mr. Denise, I believe, is the one that brought this to us, and I would like to ask Mr. Denise to be on the judging committee. I don't know. Do we need to nominate somebody? Or
Yeah, I mean, I would just have a consensus from the committee,
Anybody
from the
else
board.
want to be on the committee?
I wouldn't mind.
Would you like to be on
I would be happy to serve on the committee if chosen.
Okay. So is everybody in favor of Mr. Denise being on? Yes. All right. So
Yes.
Mr. Denise
Yep.
it is. Excellent. Anything else do we need to do on this, Brian? No?
Nope, I think we're ready to go.
That's
We'll
awesome.
move forward with it, and we'll have discussions about, awards and how we want to do all that as we continue to go through September, and October.
Okay. Fantastic. Maybe we can get a local business to give a gift certificate or something for dinner or something like that. So if anybody's listening.
Can we get, can you send out to the committee a link for the fillable form once that's posted? Because I'd like to send it to some of the community not-for-profits that I work with.
Absolutely.
I like it. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so moving on, we'll go to new business. And tonight we have a discussion on disc frisbee golf. And Ms. Drumheller was bringing that.
Okay, can I chat for a little bit about this? So I have had a few people that have approached me about disc golf recently. On our last meeting, Mr. Denise had talked about the Hobart Park disc golf course. So I went and walked that, and it actually was a little stranger than I thought it would be. I thought because it actually, the way they have it set up in Hobart Park, you could actually be throwing these discs where people are playing and eating. It was a little bit strange. I didn't have that expectation. So there's a very active Treasure Coast disc golf community, and there's a lot of folks in Sebastian that are active with this. And I'm active on Facebook and went to their site and kind of looked at where people were from and what they were saying. And also I put up on the Sebastian site, and within the first day, I had like 31 people comment in support and saying, yes, they think it's a good sport. And I do think that we have some park room for this. So, of course, I think my park, Filbert Park, is a fabulous place for it because it has this little swing set in the front, but all of this land behind it that I go to that park and I never see anyone using it. So I'm always looking for how can we better utilize what we already have for the residents that want to do some other type of activities that aren't available. And the other interesting thing when I put up the post about disc golf is they also, folks were asking for shuffleboard and more pickleball. You know, the pickleball people are going to get on in any post you put anywhere. I just want to let you know that. But I didn't know that there had been discussions in years past, so I'm interested in learning about that. But what I was pretty happy about is that with some of our parks that already have some underutilized space, this is not an expensive thing. It's like $2,000. On the upper range, it's like $2,000 a hole with the cement with the best for a 9-hole course, which is very reasonable. And so I did give to each of you the Facebook, the Treasure Coast Disc Golf Club, that does include membership of people in Sebastian, and the 3 courses there's one in Fort Pierce I didn't go to. I did see the one in Malabar, in Hobart Park. Currently we don't really have anything. Obviously, we don't have anything here, but I really wanted to talk about this with the community because I think we may have interested community members as well as the space in some of our existing parks.
I remember, if I remember correctly, and Joanne will remember also, I think if I remember correctly, that there was a big deal about the space, having the space and where we could put it at the time, and that was several years ago. And there did seem to be an interest, but then it kind of, I don't know what happened. It just, maybe Joanne remembers.
I can remember. We actually had some people come to speak on it. We did some research. One place we had looked at was on Schumann, the island there, about doing disc golf there. And then I think we had actually talked about Filbert Park also. And I'm not sure why it ended up not going through. Maybe we didn't get enough people to come and speak on it. But I myself have thought that Filbert Park would be good because we do, when you're doing disc golf, because I've played a couple times, it's nice to have even wooded area where there's paths. So you're not just in an open field. And with Filbert, we do have some of that wooded area, and maybe a little bit could be cleaned out to put some posts in there. But I think Filbert would be a great place to do the disc. But here I go back again. I want people to show up at our meeting to tell us this is something that they want, if we want to address this, and that would, that would be fine, I think, if they want to come and speak to it.
And I think there were people that were willing to come to the meeting. That's why I asked it to be put as an agenda item, really so that we could talk about it, so that if the committee feels like there's a possibility of that, I would ask them to come to the next meeting for public input.
And for maintenance, it's really not, if it was at Filbert and we used part of the wooded area, I know there would have to be some clean outs of maybe a few trees, because there are, when you're playing, going around trees or next to them, that's part of the fun of playing disc golf, so it's not just always an open field. And if there is a group that is really interested in that, they would be the people then that would actually look at an area for us and kind of check it out to see if it's something they think that would work for disc golf also.
I did have 3 of the people that have spoken to me did go to Filbert Park and walked it and thought that would be a decent location for 9 holes. They didn't think that it would be kind of crowded for an 18-hole course. And, if you have a chance to look at the one in Hobart, you'll kind of see how they did it. The difference is that they really did put it where people go, other than disc golfers, which I was really. Sure. Did you find that? I mean, it was strange to me. But
yeah, you could be having your lunch and Frisbee's going to be coming across the table. Is it possible for us to invite? You mentioned the committees. That for them to come and give us more input. I think there is a lot more to know. I went out, as I said, to the different parks because I was approached by this. But I had one of the things that I heard as a complaint was 9 hole doesn't make it, and even 18 holes is a challenge. That we have colleges willing to come to go to a place if you build the right place. But, we're talking now about getting involved with something that truthfully we don't know a lot about. But I did watch on TV. I got into it. I went to the association. You have to have at least an 18-hole to have a tournament. So
to have tournament play.
To have tournament.
And I guess my kind of take is. Like pickleball, like the other things, is that you provide recreation services for the city residents that we serve. So in my mind, it's not about bringing a whole bunch of people here for tournament play. It's for residents that might do tournament play to be able to access in their backyard a place that's underutilized currently to provide them a practice area. Not necessarily, I'm not sure that I would even want to entertain a tournament at a little community park like Filbert. It's more for another way to keep people healthy, exercising outdoors, and it's something that doesn't have really a high cost element to it, which is always good for the city.
So if we're all on board for checking further into it, that's what we do?
So, Madam Chair, so I didn't really know what direction this was going to go. Obviously, Mr. Drumheller contacted me to put it on as an agenda discussion item. I did a little bit of research based on what I could find within the city's system in regards to previous discussions at city council meetings and recreation meetings, just to kind of get some previous history on disc golf. You all are correct, and I know you all, Ms. Webster and Ms. White, you all have the history on this discussion. So in the past, the discussion was based really on 3 properties. Schumann Lake Park, which is the, you have the lake that surrounds the island there on at Schumann. That property received a lot of public input against doing anything on that property, because it is a really nice natural area that is preserved, and there was concerns there. The second area that was discussed minimally, and I can't find too much information on Filbert. The only thing that I found was there were some concerns in regards to the size. What I've seen in here, and like I said, I didn't know where this is going, so I haven't done my personal research on it other than looking at these documents. It seems that you need about 5 acres for a 9-hole course in order to adequately spread it out and have some hazards, as they call them, trees or different things in the way, so it's not just a straight throw of a frisbee right to a hole. So 5 acres is about adequate, and I think there were concerns about the size of Filbert not being quite large enough, and also Gopher Tortoises and the houses surrounding Filbert. There are some houses surrounding Filbert that there is no fence between the park and their property. So I know that's an option. Gopher Tortoises were brought up. I can't confirm that currently. I know I've seen a couple out there, but I don't know where if they're on the property still. We went through earlier this year, one of our plans was to reopen all of the trails through the wooded area at Filbert. That was one of our priorities probably 6-8 months ago. So staff did go through and we cut out all of the trails through the woods. They're in Filbert, so that is currently open. It could be a possibility, but it also is a walking pathway for people in the community, because I was approached by community residents to open those back up. So those are all just things that I've seen in the past in regards to Filbert. The third option was Stormwater Park. That was identified as a location previously. However, St. John's Water Management completely said no to that activity within that property. So those are the 3 properties that were discussed before. What I can do is if it's at the consensus of this committee, I can kind of dive further into it, look at what exactly is needed to do a 9-hole course, and really see where we could go and if we have the area to do that. I know we have some other properties that are not open, but once you start to look at putting activities on those properties, we've got to provide parking. So we have to do that as well. So just looking at some of those options, but if it's, you all as a consensus would like me to go back and look into it, I will gladly go and do some additional research on it.
Would Day Drive be one of those that you would look at?
So that's an option we can look at.
Because that's a big area, isn't it?
Correct. We do. I think we have about 30 acres there or something of that nature there at that property. Once again, that comes down to getting access to it, a parking area. I know there's some water areas in there as well that we obviously want to stay away from. So, but those are all things that I can look into if it's your pleasure for me to do that research.
Brian, I'm not, for 9 holes for disc golf, you're saying it sounds like 5 acres? That seems like...
Once again, let me just rephrase that. So I did not know which way this conversation was going to go tonight. So I don't know, I haven't done my own research. That was in the Recreation Committee meeting minutes from June 22nd, 2015. A member from the public stated that it needs a minimum of 5 acres for 9 holes and would need parking and restrooms. And that was kind of the look at. Obviously, we can get away with the restrooms on quite a few of our properties. It's not necessary, but parking on a property that doesn't currently have parking, we would have to do that. And that was just a recommendation from that. That's why I threw that number out there.
Well, I know with Filbert, we've talked about using it for other things if it was going to be for baseball or whatever. And I know the neighbors didn't want to have the noise and all that. But to me, Filbert, would be a good neighborhood park because when you're playing disc golf, it's not very noisy and there is parking there. So I kind of would like to keep focus on Filbert and see what you come up with on size. I think Filbert should be used because it is a large parcel.
Can I say something here?
Yes, sir.
I have never heard of this before, disc golf. So I would want to do a lot of research on this. I'm looking at a page here with numbers on it. I don't even know how the game is played.
And
So
that's right
I know
in the
you
back.
researched it.
No, I gave you the website
I
right
saw
on the
that.
back.
I saw, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to research this
Sure.
and see what we're talking about before we make any decisions on this.
But
I don't know
we're
about the rest of
We're not
it.
making any decisions, we're just saying, can Brian move forward to look at what's going on?
Yeah, and I would like to know how the game is played. I have no idea. That's all.
Can I make a comment on that? Ideally, it's just like playing golf, instead of using golf clubs, you're using a frisbee. And when the courts are set up for competition and everything, you're gonna have the courses that goes around curves, you're gonna have long driveways, you're gonna mix up just like you would a golf course.
How does a frisbee fit in a golf hole?
No, like
It's gonna be actually at a height like this, and
Yeah,
the
it looks kinda
frisbee's
like a
gonna go in
basketball.
there, and if it
Basketball.
bounces off, it's
Similar,
gonna go
yeah.
right in the basket.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I'm from the Bronx.
Yeah,
They probably do that there now too.
I never
Yeah.
did either until I did some research when I was asked about it.
There's a place on.
I never heard of
I
it.
think you could probably pull it up online and you could watch how it's played. And also maybe go to a park.
Oh, yeah?
What was the park you said that?
Well, Hobart
Hobart.
Park, right across from the Indian River Fairgrounds on 58, has an 18-hole course. So if you go down to Hobart Park, they actually have signs for each of the holes, which are tall baskets that like a frisbee would fall into. So that's probably the closest course. But there's also a lot of, if you go on YouTube in disc golf, it'll come up with all kinds of videos, because like regular golf, there's people that show you how to do the disc the right way, you know? So but it's a good exercise sport. It doesn't, it is quiet.
And it's probably not for everybody,
No.
but it is for some people. Some people are interested in it. So I guess we just need to know whether we have a consensus that we're gonna listen to Mr.
Madam Chair, if I may, so if you're interested, Mr. Renzi, I know you don't have the previous history and maybe some of the other members don't. There is currently a setup across the street from Schumann Tennis Courts at the church property. They have a disc golf course set up there. I don't know whether it's 9 or 18, or even if it is 9 holes, it could only be 6. But I know as I've driven by there a few times, I've seen that there is a
Oh, the
disc golf
church.
setup at the church across the street from Schumann Tennis Courts. They have a setup on their property there. So that's an easier drive than going down to Hobart or somewhere in that nature.
Okay.
So just take a
Yeah, I'll
look at
take
that.
a look at that.
It's right across the street from
Okay.
Schumann Tennis Courts.
Yeah, easy.
Okay. Anybody else? Ms. Drumheller, do you want to make a recommendation, or do I need to?
Well,
do that?
I would like to make a recommendation that we at least look into the potential of Filbert Park having the capacity of space for a disc golf. And Brian, would you want me to have some folks come to the committee meeting next time?
Why don't we, let me get with staff tomorrow, figure out how quickly we can get out and assess Filbert and kind of do our due diligence internally first. And then I can touch base with you prior to the next meeting. And then if we need to bring additional people in, we can. And let me just make sure I can get everything prepared for that September meeting.
Yeah, if you just
So that, it might be
contact
something to
me
where
which
this might take me, I'm not saying this is a very lengthy process, but with everything else we've got going on, it could bump us into October to discuss this again.
And that's
So-
fine, and I do know that, on the recreation, there's someone in the county recreation department that actually designed the Hobart course that's on staff there. Would it be helpful if I got their name for you?
I can reach out to the county. I can reach out to them, have that discussion.
So I would like to add that if you see that the Filbert Park is just not doable, maybe you could just expand to maybe see if there is someplace that might be.
Absolutely. Just, like I said, you know, I'll speak with Mr. Drumheller on this over the coming weeks. It looks like it may not be on the September agenda. I just want you all to be aware. But it'll either be September or October. Hopefully September, but if we get some delays and have other projects, it might get pushed to October.
Awesome.
That's fine.
Okay, we all good on that?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On disc golf, is this like a par thing?
Oh, I don't know
You get
what
like so
pars are.
many throws for par? Like a golf course is usually par 72 for all 18 holes.
I don't know if they have par, but I know it's a really big deal. They have hole-in-one stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about
Yeah.
it.
Louis, have
I
you
was going to
played?
say, because in golf, when you don't have a lot of area, a lot of times you'll find what's called a par 3 course. Okay, so it's very short.
Uh-huh.
So if we, you know, space is a limitation, and, you know, we decide to go forward with disc golf, you know, maybe a par 3 course of 9 holes. Just something to think about.
Yeah.
So I can speak on a little bit about it. I've played disc golf in the past a little bit, and it's similar to golf. There is a certain par for each hole. What you'll see is in open areas, you'll have a longer straightaway that, you know, you got to throw your driver. It gets very detailed on people that play disc golf a lot. They actually have driving disc, putting disc, chipping disc, you know, the same thing. They all look the same. When you look at it, it looks like a normal Frisbee, but they have different weights and things of that nature. So you'll get to your shorter holes, and it may be something that's a completely 90-degree to the hole, and you can't throw through the woods. You have to go down the cutout. So obviously you can't throw your driver because it'll go too far. So there is some strategy in the game. But I mean, it's pretty amazing if you ever get on YouTube and watch some of these people that play disc golf in tournament settings, how they can get that disc to curve right around trees, right through trees. It's pretty impressive. But I'll do my due diligence and looking into this and see what options we have going forward.
Awesome.
That's why I like to see input. One of the comments I had, like I said, is that there was no challenge to that there. And why go out and buy a half a dozen type of disc if you're not going to be able to play the game? I didn't know there was a half a dozen type. So I think that, you know, I'm always concerned about safety, and when I look at that park and I see that you have to go over somebody having lunch at a pincher bag, I'm not sure if I'd want that person developing a course run, but I didn't realize how involved this is, and the people that expressed an interest to me was that our failure was because you can't play this in a 9-hole or 18, you need a 20-some hole. And I'm saying, oh my God, now we're getting crazy. So I really think we have to do some
Will be like mini
research.
golf.
We're going to have to learn a lot more about this.
Mini golf. Okay, anybody else? All right, so if anybody has anything they want to discuss, next meeting, if you let Brian know, to get it on the agenda, that's how we're talking now. You can come with member park updates, right?
Yes, and I just ask, I usually work on the agenda the Wednesday or Thursday before the meeting. So just try to get it to me early that week or the week before. I know Mr. Drumheller got it to me, I think, 2 weeks before this time. So even whenever, you know, if I can send out a reminder of the meeting, if that might help. I can send a meeting reminder a week out and just say, just a reminder, you got a day or two to get me anything you want on the agenda. I can do that as well.
Awesome. All right, now our next meeting is going to be September 26th. We're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Okay.